So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how issues of p-hacking, publication bias, and the like affect the coming generation of academics and then the public as a whole.
Yeah, I that's a great question. I don't think people realize what it means or the impacts that it can have. And I think it's because most people who start doing research, I think are just trying to do good. They're trying to do good research and they have good intentions. But I think they don't realize that their behavior and the behavior of other people potentially leads them into cherry picking some results. Or maybe when they look at a policy or they're interested in documenting the effect of X on Y. If they don't find an effect, they might scrap that paper. And that's problematic. And I know why people are doing it, and I'm sure we're going to come back to this later on. But it's problematic because then we don't have a full picture or portray of like what's going on in a specific literature. We only have part of it. And that part is maybe only the studies that find an effect. So if you think of like a big literature, I don't know, I'm an economist, so I'm going to give an example in economics, but the effect of the minimum wage on unemployment. Well, we could have potentially only studies that find a specific effect in a specific direction. And all the people who are actually starting to look at the data and the codes might actually stop doing research when they don't find an effect that goes into this direction. Or they might try to p-hack to try to get to that. And they only show the specifications where this is confirming what we have in the literature, or confirming their priors, or confirming what their political party or the people that, implement policy, what they want to hear. So all these biases are really important, and they're called publication bias, which englobes a lot of things and can just lead to very incomplete picture. And this is from an academic point of view. So researchers in general, we would publish research potentially that as a globe, like as a corpus of research, would be biased. But then other people looking at this literature, it could be policymakers, it could be just a public, it could be anyone looking at this has, oh, wow, actually people in academia sort of ended up on a consensus. They always find that the effect of this on this is that. But actually it's wrong. It's not that we ended up on this, it's that we ended up doing research that is biased. So the research can be biased for many reasons. And it can be biased because of the publication bias that I mentioned, but also sometimes your research might be biased and you've done nothing wrong. And an example is sometimes you will look at the literature because you want to know, okay, what should I control for? How should I code my dependent variable? How should I code my independent variable? And you're going to try to look for other papers that have looked at similar research question. And you're going to try to do the same. But by doing the same, maybe you're actually doing the same as someone else who has p-hacked and sort of cheated a bit. And without even noticing, you might actually engage in p-hacking just by following the literature. So I think people need to understand that a lot of what people call p-hacking, so basically cherry picking a p-value in order to show that the effect is that significant, is done often subconsciously, and often it's not even sort of your fault. You're not even aware that you're actually doing this. And sometimes it's projects over years, and it's with tons of co-authors, and it's like tons of decisions that are made over time, and you don't even realize that at the end of the day, all these decisions sum up to actually p-hacking. But if I would ask you, did you p-hack? I'd be like, no way, I've never, what are you talking about? But well, yeah, but if I follow up all your decisions and I look at the final product, you're showing that specification here, but you could have shown all these other specifications that show an effect that is different. So to answer your question, I guess, which I should, is policymakers and the general public are seeing only a subset of studies and are seeing studies potentially that are biased. And this has consequences for the type of for knowledge accumulation, but also for the type of policies that we may implement.
And the integrity of academia.